Thank you. Welcome back to the Hauppauge Union Free School District Board of Education meeting of March 15th, 2022. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 4 on the agenda is Superintendent's update. Dr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Boucher. Welcome, everybody. A couple of updates. I just want to give a big thank you to Mr. Campanelli and the entire counseling team, along with high school administration, for offering an awesome event for our students at the high school gym yesterday, our college fair. So many students were getting out of that gym and visiting the tables and speaking to representatives from so many colleges and universities, including many local ones that we all know. So it was great to see. So thank you to them. Some great news to report. Our history teacher, Ellen Robbins, has been selected as the National History Day 2022 Teacher of the Year, representing New York State Senior Division. Ellen was selected from nominees submitted by each of the 12 regional History Day coordinators of New York State. This is a testament to her years of hard work and commitment to the successful program at Hauppauge Middle and High Schools. And then lastly, I just want to recognize a couple of local heroes at the Pines. We had a scare yesterday at the Pines. One of our staff members in the main office, Ann Nichols, choked on an apple, and Diane D'Souza, who's one of her colleagues, rushed to give her the Heimlich maneuver, which was helpful but was still unable to clear her passageway. Then they called in Marianne Lieberman for assistance over the intercom, and she ran in, performed the Heimlich, and was able to clear Ann's airway enough so that she could breathe. Ambulance was called. She's fine now. Clearly, Dr. DeMusio was so grateful for the quick response there in the building, and we're all grateful that Ann is doing okay today. So, thank you. Mr. Boucher.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. 5A on the agenda, recognition and awards. There are none tonight. 5A's presentation, we have 2 of them. The first one is Effective School Solutions, given by Rebecca Bilski, Assistant Superintendent for PPS, People Personnel Services. Bilski.
Good evening. Thank you to the Board of Ed and the Hauppauge administrative team for the support of our ESS program. We partnered with ESS this year to provide Tier 3 clinical mental health support to students in our high school. We have the ESS team with us tonight to share a little bit about the program and the progress that the program has made this year. With us tonight we have Cheryl Planton, Regional Clinical Director, Mike Roseman, Vice President of District Partnerships, Allison Whitman, Regional Clinical Director, and Emily Davis, Program Coordinator, and Eileen Murray, Clinician. And thank you to those 2 who are really the boots on the ground every single day, working with our students and supporting our school. Here's our team. Thank you.
I feel like I'm still getting used to doing it live again after so many times in Zoom. All right, we're gonna go rogue. Here we go. Thank you to the Hauppauge Public Schools, to the Board of Ed. We appreciate the opportunity to serve the school district. I'm really excited, having been here about a year ago and having started conversations a few years ago, that Hauppauge was the first school district in Long Island to partner with ESS. As you well know, we're partnered with about 100 school districts now across the country, so we're really excited about the implementation and the partnership that we've had, and we're hopeful for continued progress as we continue. So I don't think it's hyperbole to say that even before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a mental health epidemic in young people. We all know that mental health outcomes were degrading for a decade prior to the pandemic, and COVID-19 really served to exacerbate those mental health challenges. There's really talk about a thing called the COVID echo, which is kind of long after the pandemic has receded, that mental health issues that have kind of been exacerbated during the pandemic will still continue to happen. And I think we can see that qualitatively and quantitatively. So if you look at kind of the rates of suicidal ideation through the pandemic as opposed to pre-pandemic, those are on the rise. And then I think we also have seen that as students have reintegrated into schools, there's been a lot of challenges with that reassimilation. Disruption of sleep patterns. In a lot of our schools, behaviors have manifested themselves in ways they weren't before. And just like really reacclimating to the social structure of school has been difficult for a lot of students in ways that we couldn't have predicted. And so I really do feel like we're in the middle of kind of a second epidemic, really relating to mental health. And at ESS, we're really trying to partner with the district to support student mental health along an MTSS continuum. Our current partnership with Hauppauge is really centered at the Tier 3 level, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but students with really intense mental health challenges and really providing that wraparound support for students so that they can reach their full potential. As an organization, by focusing on the Tier 3 level, not only is that going to provide the support that those students need, but it's also going to free up additional bandwidth with existing clinical teams within the building to support all students. And so we really look at this as a partnership between ESS and Hauppauge to provide support to students, again, to enable them to reach their full potential. My colleagues are going to talk a little bit more about the program.
Okay, so here we are. This is our executive summary. We're going to be going into this in greater detail as we present. So this will be a brief overview, but we feel like our partnership with Hauppauge is making such a critical impact and such a difference in these students at Hauppauge High School. Our utilization of services has been high. We are increasing attendance. We are increasing average GPAs. And in addition, we prevented an estimated 9 out-of-district placements, which again, we will go into that further in the presentation. We feel like our partnership is healthy and strong. We have plans to further build upon this foundation through professional development, really creating and fostering our relationships with teachers is something that we're focusing on. But so far we've had great success.
So this is a slide that speaks to our census. So we have 2 clinicians in the building. They each can carry a caseload of up to 10 students. And you can see that we started in September and we very quickly climbed to well over 15. And at this point, we are at full census with 20 students enrolled. So we want to say a little bit about our services that we provide for those of you that aren't familiar. So for all the students in our program, they receive group therapy. They receive individual once a week. They receive family therapy twice a month. We do a parent support group once a month. We also provide what's listed there as PRN sessions. And what that means is any unscheduled clinical session with the student, as well as our staff attend school meetings, IEP meetings. We open our room during lunch for students to come and have a supervised, less chaotic place in the cafeteria. And we also partner with a teacher from the district to provide learning strategies. So we're helping our students stay focused on their academics and catch up, as well as work with them regarding executive functioning skills. So on that other piece of the slide, the clinical snapshot, we're going to go into those details in the upcoming slides, so I'll hold off on that.
Okay, so here is our district engagement with therapeutic services. So we have a benchmark of 4. So as you see, engagement is high. So this is an average engagement of 4.93 interactions per week for the students. So in September, we're building our caseload, so engagement's increasing. We actually didn't have group at that time built into the schedule, so as you can see, we are well above the benchmark for student engagement. The average engagement rate per student, so if you see in the yellow, that's the engagement rate 1 time per week. So as of February, we have 87% of students engaging 1 time per week, and or the reverse, sorry, the reverse, 94% engagement rate 1 time per week, and the highly engaged is 87%. So again, our benchmark there for participation and engagement is 80%. We are seeing well above that in our program at the high school. So here's our marking period 2 data. So we compare baseline. The baseline data for our students, we take the average, their GPA, either marking period 4, if they started in September. If they did not, then we take the prior marking period to utilize that as a baseline. If they came from out of district, we use the first marking period to set that as our baseline point. So as you see, we have 67% of our students have maintained or increased their GPA. The total number of students served, as you see, we are full, and here it captures, I believe the census here is 15. So we have students that were enrolled throughout the marking period, so that's why you don't see the full census there. We have out of school discipline. 100% of students experienced a decrease or no change in discipline events and attendance, which we're really proud about. The stat is 80% of students experienced a decrease or no change in absences. So many of our students were not in the building, were not engaged in school, and our focus was really getting them in the building and back into the community and engaging. So that's our focus. We are seeing success with that, with students coming in to the school and creating exposure plans, creating plans for those students so that they can learn and access their education and be successful.
We just wanted to pull up this slide as well. I know in conversations with the board prior to the partnership, we talked about ways that we could quantify the impact. And obviously, clinical outcomes for students is going to supersede everything. But then there's also measurable objectives that we've talked about of like grades, discipline, and attendance. But one of the data points that I remember us talking about collectively was kind of return on investment from students who could either be brought back from therapeutic outplacements or prevented from going out of district. So in conversations, we've identified about 9 students that would have likely been students who would have gone out of district without the services for ESS. And each of those out-of-district placements on average costs about $80,000. So cost savings right there is $720,000. Now, obviously, you have to then strip out the investment in ESS. But even if you factor in the investment of ESS, you're talking about a surplus of $425,000 from those kind of preventative efforts of out-of-district placements. So we just wanted to kind of bring that as well to attention.
So this slide speaks to those unscheduled clinical meetings that I spoke about earlier. We counted that there were 110 of those sessions, and that could be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, helping the student regulate themselves so they can get back to class to be available for learning. Or those could take hours in the case of like needing to do a full risk assessment for somebody who was suicidal. And in fact, our statistics show that there were actually 49 instances where we needed to do a full assessment of students to make sure that they were safe. So what we do is we kind of take an average. We say that on average each of these sessions may be at least 30 minutes. And so we estimate that we save staff that would have been in the building doing it if we weren't here about 55 hours. Sorry. We all, feedback is really important to us. So we ask our parents to fill out a survey. And so 4 is they strongly agree, to 1 strongly disagree on subjects such as I've been treated with respect, my family's right to privacy and confidentiality has been respected, the program is helping me with my child, and you can see that we got very high results here in Hauppauge with everybody strongly agreeing.
So I think, we go through, we talk about data, and we talk about GPAs and attendance. And yes, that is very important, but I think what our caregivers are saying speaks volumes, and the relationships they've built. Our parent support group actually is really well attended. We're very proud of that, to partner with our families, and I know that to Eileen and Emily on the ground working with them. But these are some highlights of some of the quotes that we pulled from those surveys. One of them, the ESS program has provided an additional layer of comfort and support for our child, which is going through an extremely difficult and trying time in their life. I'm not sure that we would have them in school at all without the program. And that's just one of the many. I actually couldn't fit all the comments on one slide, but I wish I could share them all with you. The feedback that we're receiving, the relationships we're building with the families has been huge in Hauppauge. That's it.
Has this presentation been put up on the website yet?
No.
We'll make sure it is. Please with the slides. Sure. Questions from the board concerning the presentation? I have a couple. So, what was the criteria, or what is the criteria for selection? I mean, we've had 19 kids participate in this, and we have more than 3,000 students in the district. What was the criteria that we used for selection to participate?
So we met as an administrative team over the summer, myself and the high school administrators, and they have spreadsheets with data from all the mental health professionals within the building, identifying the tier of the students. And at the time, it was really hard to get to a number. And then ESS sets up intake meetings with the families to identify willingness to participate. And as the school year progressed, some, whether they were willing or not, there was some open spots. The referral comes from the building mental health team.
So, no, I understand. So, is it that we turned away students? Did we turn away any students? I mean, I know we had the capacity for 20
we have a wait list
students.
currently.
I'm sorry?
We do have students on the wait list currently.
So, okay. So how many students do we have on the wait list?
I think currently there's like 5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Okay.
And those 5 or 6, are they currently placed out of our district?
No, they're in the high school.
They're in the high school? Are there any students that are outside placements that are that applied or wanted to be in the program that aren't?
We had other school districts that heard about the program that reached out to us, but we currently have a need within our district to service our own students, so we haven't opened it up to any students outside of the district.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I guess my concern, my question, I guess, is whether if we had the ability to bring on more staff, more services, whether we would be classifying more kids as being eligible or this being appropriate for them. In other words, did the limit of 20 become a self-fulfilling cap? And are there more than 19 students that could really benefit from this? And cost is, aside for a moment, because that's obviously, there's a cost to all of this, but just putting that aside for a moment, if we had more practitioners, clinicians, however you want to refer to them as, would we be classifying, and maybe that's not the right term, but would we be qualifying more kids to participate in this program?
I just want to say, sir, I see your hand up. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
I do believe so, yes. I think we have the mental health needs of some of our students in the high school are high, and we're working diligently every day with our high school social workers in collaboration with the ESS to meet those needs currently.
And I realize it may be anecdotal, but of the 19 kids, what percentage are you seeing issues arising from COVID, whether it be mask use or having had COVID or quarantining or fear of the disease or anything like that? Is it every kid? I mean, is it the vast majority?
So I do believe that the district brought us in because there was a huge school avoidance piece even prior to COVID, and certainly any struggles that these students had, whether it was anxiety, depression, social skills deficits, those were all exacerbated by COVID. And I also know that a few of the students actually struggled with COVID, which led to, legitimate absences, which also spoke a little bit to not more students being successful in increasing their academics.
So, I mean, the greatest increase or the greatest success that I see in what you presented here is getting kids into the building. That seems to have been where your greatest accomplishment was. And that's obviously a great thing, and it really touches most troubled and vulnerable kids, getting them out of their houses, being able to come to school when COVID's around or whatever their fears were is a huge accomplishment. Personally, I would like to see whether we can expand this program either with this provider or another. And I'm sure they're doing a great job. My point is, this seems like something we should be doing more of. Even though 19 students in the face of 3,000 may seem like a small percentage, it seems to pay for itself from a budgetary standpoint. And again, it's affecting and benefiting the most vulnerable kids, so I would like to see this expanded.
We're happy to look at that.
Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Questions from the community, sir?
Yes, I'd like to say a few things. Can everyone hear me?
Sure. You know what? You can come up to the podium if you're comfortable with that. And sir, just so you know, our meetings are all online and live. So if you're going to mention any children's names, we can shut the recording off, or if you'd rather have it off, we can shut it off. But
No
I just want to
problem.
let you know that it's being
Yep,
broadcast
no
live.
problem, and I don't mind if anyone hears my children's names, it's okay. Hi, my name is Michael Febres. I'm a proud member of this community and of this school district. I'm a father of two. I have a 5-year-old daughter named Kennedy and a 14-year-old daughter named Alexa. She's in high school in the 9th grade. Now, over the years, I've always heard that Hauppauge was one of the best school districts. So just over 6 years ago, when it was time for me to buy a house, I was considering Hauppauge. I was reading on Google and read that Hauppauge is ranked one of the top school districts in Suffolk County. So right then and there, based off that and what I've heard over the years, I've always kept that info in my mind. People saying that this was the best school district. So I decided right then and there, we're buying in Hauppauge and we're gonna be members of this community in this school district. And I must say, to this point, I have not been disappointed. I'm very proud to be here. When my daughter was in the middle school a few years ago, when we first came to Hauppauge, she was in BOCES already. We were in another close by school district that I don't think is as good as Hauppauge. And I guess maybe they felt that they didn't have the support and resources for her that she needed, so they felt it'd be better for her to be in BOCES, so we were there. As soon as we enrolled in Hauppauge, someone, I don't remember who it was, but someone right away mentioned, no, we're going to take her out of BOCES, we're going to bring her back in the district, and we have all the support and help that you'll need here And that's what they did. I'm really happy that they did that because I really want my daughter to grow up around her peers and be around people that she's going to see over the years and start building these relationships and not be in another town going to school somewhere else with kids that maybe she won't know further down the line. So once we went into the high school in September, she started in 9th grade. She started in the ESS program with Eileen Murray and Emily Davis, and I couldn't say enough good things about these women. They do way more than what their job description is. If your daughter is in the hospital struggling and they need to be at night when they're not working on the phone communicating with doctors, whatever it takes, they do whatever it takes for their students, and I couldn't be more happy with them. My daughter deals with a lot of depression, anxiety. I'm a single father to her. Her mother has not been steadily involved in her life since she was a baby, less than 1 year old. So that's been very hard on me all these years, 14 years. It's been a lot harder on her. And I'm not saying all these issues that she's going through are only stemmed from her not having a relationship with her mother, but that definitely is a lot of it. You know, today her mother lives in Florida these days, and she couldn't care less about Alexa. She doesn't care what's going on with her, has never helped Alexa or me in any way at all. And that's fine. We've moved on a long time ago, but I'm only telling you all this to stress to you that this has really been a lot on her. You know, these women, you know, at this point are the most steady, positive female influences in her life. You know, this has been huge. To tell you the truth, if it wasn't for Effective School Solutions, I don't know where Alexa would be today. I don't know if she would be back in BOCES, but I know that, you know, going back and forth from district to BOCES, that's not helpful at all. I don't think so. And this is coming from someone that moved around different schools, and I was in BOCES myself, so I know from my own experiences that it's best to keep the kids in district and not move them around and help them to start building those long-term relationships, as we're going to be here in Hauppauge forever. We also have these parent groups every month where we meet with the other parents who have children in ESS, and that is so helpful because we're able to learn skills of, you know, that we might not know from them and from each other about how we can help our children through these struggles that they're going through. And it's helpful for the parents a lot too, because a lot of times when you don't know what to do to help your child, you can really feel like you're failing as a parent, you know, and you can start to come down on yourself. But to be able to meet with the other parents, and we're now starting to build a rapport with each other, and we talk about what our children are going through, it's really helpful to know that you're not in this on your own, and that there are other people that are going through the same thing. That's very helpful.
So Norm,
I'm just very happy. I'm very grateful for this program. I understand that right now we're on like a 1 year trial basis, and I'm scared to come here in September for my daughter to go to school in September and possibly find out that ESS is no longer there, or Emily and Eileen are no longer there. Whoever it is that makes the decisions, I just hope that when you're making decisions that you have students like Alexa in mind. And that is all. Thank you.
thank you. And normally we limit comments and questions to 3 minutes, but since you were saying nice things about us, I'll let you go for a while. And rest assured, sir, that we're not cutting this program. It's budgeted for next year, and if anything, we'd like to look at expanding it.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. Like you guys definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one comment towards administration. I know you had mentioned other districts asking us about this program. I'm all for helping everyone, but let's make sure our students who want this and who need it are taken care of first before we go out and offer other districts our services. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
We had stopped the video.
Go ahead. You're okay.
The 5 or 6 students that are waiting, is that an option to see about adding another counselor at this point, or is it too late? Because I would hate for those students, I mean, I'm sure they're being seen by somebody in the building, but
Yeah,
if
it's
they're in
something we can
need,
analyze.
maybe it's just
Yeah.
something to think about. Maybe we can get a number for the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes,
Do the social workers that we currently have work with this program, or are they seeing different children? Like, how does the two things work?
Once the students are entered into ESS, our in-district social workers step back. So it's, strictly the clinicians of ESS. And our district social workers are seeing, mandated and unmandated students.
But could they use the same techniques? Are they like kind of cross-training, I guess, or they're not involved at all?
We collaborate and we have meetings together. The level of service is much higher than what a district social worker does.
Okay, second
Makes sense.
question. Was this paid for by a grant last year, and now this year we have to look to the budget? Is that how it's working?
It's funded through the grant for multiple years.
Okay.
So we're able to sustain it for next year and even the year after, and then we will.
But only for 20 students?
Currently, but to Ms. Saladin's question and Mr. Boucher's endorsement, we're gonna take a look at what we can do creatively here.
thank you, Ms. Kavanaugh. Yes, Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, just quick, you might have answered it. Based on the 20 students, is it based on money or caseload that they can only handle, or is it money?
So I believe
The
that-
grant only pays for 20 kids because each kid costs so much. That's all it's for.
I think the 10 per clinician is a professional limit, is that?
Yeah, it's because each student receives intensive services, so they're attending groups every day. I think is there 2 or 4 groups that you're doing at this point? 4 groups a day, just to accommodate the current schedule. They run 4 groups a day. They see each student that's in the program for individual once a week, that's scheduled, family twice a month, but also anytime this child is struggling in the school building, our staff are available for them. And, when students are in crisis, that could be 2 to 3 times a day. So that's why there's a cap, because it's very intensive.
So did you
Yes.
you-
I'm sorry,
you
Mr.
just-
Bruzo?
You summed it up, it's limited, like the council, 10 to the council.
Correct.
That's all, yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
It was a short answer there, and I gave you a long one.
Sir in the back?
Yeah, I just wanted to get a chance to speak on behalf of the program also.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Would you like us to keep the camera on or?
You can keep it on.
Okay,
My name is Michael, leave it as anonymous as that. And, to my brother over there, we also moved to Hauppauge because of the school district. My sister lived here, and there was great experience with my nephews, and I wanted the same experience for my children. Anyway, my youngest deals with the social anxiety disorder also since junior high, and has missed countless days of school over the years. Quite frankly, the COVID actually was a blessing for my child with the remote learning. They had the best year they've had in quite some time because of it, because they didn't have to come to school. And so this year, when that was no longer going to be in play, we were quite worried that we weren't going to be able to get our child back to school. And so this program has been a godsend. And what's been so good about it is that the counselors that we have, Eileen and Emily, they coordinate with their therapists to make sure that everyone's on the same page, doing the same thing, that they coordinate with the teachers and the guidance counselor, who have been fantastic. We are so blessed to have such concerned and wonderful teachers in this district. And the guidance counselor and Ms. Griffin, the social worker that's worked with her in the past. It's like, so we need to keep this going. I'm so happy to hear that this is not only going to continue, but to grow. Because There are many kids that are dealing with these issues, and I can tell you as a parent, you throw your hands up and you just don't know what to do. And to have the help like this, it means the world. So thank you for giving me that time.
And thank you for sharing your story with us.
I thank you all for what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the board or the community? All right, well, we're going to take a 3-minute break to allow anyone that wants to leave, and we will start again at 9:48. Thank you. All right, we're back after a quick break. Prior to the break, I said 9:48. So my apologies. Number 5B2 on the agenda is a presentation of the 2022-2023 school budget given by Ms. Bridget Sienna, our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. Tonight's presentation will be the revenue and the tax cap. Ms. Sienna?
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Welcome to the second workshop where we're going to focus on revenue tonight.
Steve, is the levels? Okay, all right, good, thank you.
So this slide is from the March 1st meeting, just talking a little bit again and recapping on budget development drivers. So enrollment, district staffing needs, the impact of the teacher retirement system, employee retirement system, and health insurance, maintaining successful educational programs like ESS, and opportunities for our students, and navigating all of the above while operating within the tax levy limit. This is the same slide from the March 1st meeting, so the only change here, all the way to the right, where I have circled in pink, purple, the percentage of budget. So the largest percent of the revenue budget for Hauppauge is the tax levy at 74%. The next largest revenue source is state aid at 14%. Then pilots at 6%, fund balance at 3%, other at 2%, and reserves at 1%. So
What's in that other category?
Which side?
What's in the other category, the $2 million?
That's a great question that we'll get to in 4 slides.
Okay, all right, you like that.
I'm a business official, we're very line by line.
I'm trying to jump Mr. Bruzio, because I know he's gonna.
I wrote the question down.
Here we go. So, tax levy limit. So, before we begin this lovely calculation, the first thing and biggest thing to note is that the school district only sets the tax levy limit. There are many other entities that will factor into things, and such as the tax rate, but it's here just the focus is the tax levy limit. So the starting point is the prior year or current year tax levy, which is 90,084,876. You multiply it by the tax base growth factor for 22-23 is 1.0. The tax base growth factor comes from the Office of Real Property Tax Services, and that number comes in January for Suffolk County. You add in your prior year pilots or your current year pilots. You subtract your prior year exemptions, which is the capital levy. What the capital levy includes is debt service schedule, transportation aid, and capital work. Then you multiply it by the allowable levy growth factor of 1.02. That number comes from the Office of the State Comptroller, and that is the number that it is for Hauppauge schools for 22-23. From there, you subtract the projected pilots of 7.4. This number is coming and is anticipated right now, or estimated. It's coming from the town of Islip and the town of Smithtown, and they're both still verifying their roles, so that number may change between now and when we adopt the budget on April 12th. Then you add in your available carryover, which for 22-23 we do not have any. So the tax levy limit before exclusions, 90,524,168. You add in your capital share, which again is debt service, transportation, capital work, and then you derive to your final number of the tax levy limit, which is 91,690,907, or a levy to levy increase currently of 1.78. The next slide, next line on that second slide, we saw state aid. So for Hauppauge, state aid is projected for 22-23 at $18.1 million. There are a number of drivers for the state aid, and state aid isn't something new. This goes back about 200 years. The New York State has obviously a New York State Constitution where it discusses the educational rights for a sound basic education, and the way that the state says, hey, here's a sound basic education, is by divvying up funds to all 697 districts throughout New York State. So some drivers are hundreds of calculations and data points the school district wealth. So at Hauppauge, the combined wealth ratio is 1.49. That number means at 1.0 is an average school district. The closer you get to 0, that would be a district with more needs, and the above 1.0 till 2.0 would be a wealthier district. So the closer you get to 2.0, the less you receive in state aid. The closer you get to 0, the more you receive in state aid. Some other drivers for state aid: needs of students and student demographics. All these factor into state aid categories. First is expense-driven aid, such as BOCES or public and private excess cost aid. That's around $7 million. Then enrollment-driven aids, $285,000, which includes textbook aid, computer software, and computer hardware. It's not just enrollment that factors into this, it's also what you expense for these as well. And ultimately, the largest source for school districts is foundation aid at $10.7 million. So that is a bigger description on state aid. Next, other. So you asked me what other is, here we go. First, interest. Second, tuition and health services from other districts, the use of building, whippoorwill rentals that we have here, and miscellaneous. So miscellaneous would be a CPSC county refund, the refund of prior year BOCES, E-rate reimbursement, swimming pool fees, and Medicaid. Totaling everything up there is a little bit over $2 million in the other category.
Bridget,
Yes.
can we say those miscellaneous items again,
Sure.
please?
CPSC county refund.
What is that exactly?
So we will receive a reimbursement from the county for students with IEPs, depending on
Is
whether.
that local aid
Yes,
for
that's-
kids with IEPs?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the second?
The second is refund of prior year BOCES. So once BOCES reconciles their year, they refund school districts.
Okay.
Because BOCES can't have a fund balance. Then there's,
Is that refund a result of BOCES services that we pay for during the year?
correct.
Okay. And what, anything at the end of the year that's a surplus they give back to the district pro rata?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Next is E-rate reimbursement.
E-rate?
E-rate. That I think technically is through BOCES.
Yes, it's reimbursement for telecommunications investments.
Okay.
And then swimming pool fees. And ultimately Medicaid.
Medicaid meaning reimbursement from Medicaid for medical services that we've paid for, is that?
Yes.
Or insurance that we've paid for?
Insurance allocation.
Got it. Okay, and that's roughly about $1 million, those four things?
All those four things, yes.
Is that consistent year over year?
No, it fluctuates year over year, especially with BOCES, especially with the county refund.
Is this seems high to me, is it not? Higher than, this is not higher than the last few years?
No, I just don't think that you've seen it collapse like this.
So that could be it, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So reserves, Hauppauge has consistently and historically utilized reserves, and the point of that is the ability to maintain a stable tax levy. So employee-related reserve funds guard against fluctuations in costs. So there's two reserves that we utilize here. The EBLAR reserve, which helps meet financial obligations for separated employees per the collective bargaining agreements. We have 5 collective bargaining agreements. We also have individual employee agreements as well. Next up, the employees retirement system, and that reserve provides stability for districts when budgeting for retirement costs. Finally, fund balance. Why is it important? So appropriated fund balance is applied to the following year's budget. This also is a means to lower the tax levy, but it's important to note with appropriated fund balance that if you put $3 million towards the coming year's budget, you have to sustain that and have $3 million either on the revenue side or the expenditure side to be able to sustain that year over year. So fund balance is a measure of school district's financial condition, and the better off you are financially, you can improve your credit rating, and you can also reduce borrowing costs and interest costs. And that concludes a line by line for the revenue budget. So March 29th will be the deep dive into the expenditure budget, where my entire team will help me go through different aspects for curriculum, technology, and health and safety. After that, April 12th is the budget adoption, May 3rd is the budget hearing, and finally, May 17th, the annual budget vote and school election.
Thank you, Bridget. So, you know, in the years past, we've had some surprises and terrors, I guess, with state aid and threats to cut state aid and actual cuts in state aid.
Yes.
Are we facing anything like that this year? Is this a pretty accurate number of where we're going to be as far as that state aid?
This is a very accurate number. As the state has made districts whole through COVID and all of that, foundation aid, which is the largest, there is a 3-year phase-in plan. So as you look at the foundation aid breakdown on the SP website for state aid, CPI, when the way that this is collected is a snapshot in time off the November database. So CPI was much different then than it will be when they go off their final database and they give that final legislative run, which April 1st, the the governor has to adopt and enact a budget by legally. So at that point in time, just with that change in CPI alone, we will see more there for foundation aid. But the phase-in plan for 3 years really gives districts more each year.
Are we talking about inflation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is different because there isn't a 20% reduction looming over our heads anymore.
Right. So, and we don't expect anything like that coming down the pipe. Right. Dr. Murphy?
I was going to add, when I was at NISCUS conference recently, the budget workshop I attended, there was tremendous optimism about the next few years. Nothing, of course, ever is guaranteed, but there was optimism about the next few years with the state aid.
Good. And as far as you mentioned ERS, I think, and TRS, the retirement systems, you know, my understanding is usually there's an inverse, when the market does well, those responsibilities for districts are down and vice versa. With what's going on with the market now, how do we stand? Are we prepared for any big fluctuation based upon what's going on with the market and what's going on with the world?
We are. Typically, school districts will have about 3 years worth of expenditures ready to go just in case. This stems back to about 2011, 2012, when the tax cap came on board and districts making significant cuts.
Mr. Scrito?
Bridget, if you may, there was a slide after the other that had the rentals for Whippoorwill, I believe, ma'am? There you go. So the Whippoorwill rentals at 602, you may not have the answer, maybe we'll have to wait till next time. Do we know, are we a net positive? Are we a neutral? Is it a negative? So Whippoorwill rentals 602, that's a positive?
Yes, so we'll go more into that next presentation.
Okay, so that doesn't take out the expenses, right?
No.
Okay. And then the other thing would be the notorious clock that we always ask about. You know, as homeowners and taxpayers, you go, okay, your expenses keep going up, but your numbers coming in isn't the same. Not asking for an answer today, maybe next time or the next time after that. Can we get an idea before, you know, the well's dry, as they say? Because we're only going up, like 2%, 1.78%, and our expenses are definitely tripling that. So
Sure.
I just like to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bunch of different factors there.
Understood.
And then we received a bunch of.
But you can kind of calculate, you know, when you do a 5-year plan, you go, okay, in 5 years, if we don't cut busing, you know, if we don't cut this, there's going to be someone's, you know.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the board concerning the budget presentation? Questions from the community concerning the budget presentation, Mr. Bruzo?
Yeah, the CWR rating, do we have any control over that?
No.
They just judge us, they look at our finances and says how well we are?
It's based on many different data points.
So there's no.
Yeah.
Could I just piggyback on that question?
Sure.
It's really based on the community, is it not?
Yes, it's based
It's not
on.
based on the school districts, it's based on the community. You know, I would assume things like median income,
Yes,
property values.
yes.
Mr. Russo?
The Whippoorwill revenue from Whippoorwill rentals, the use of building costs, some of that goes because of Whippoorwill or not?
No,
That's totally separate from the other buildings. I'm assuming next presentation is, I think Mr. Screedo, about the expenditures that run this building?
It will be about expenditures and the level of detail that we go. There's only so many slides I want to put up because I don't want you to be here for a century.
Well, for sure, we should be prepared for at least a medium dive into this building, how much it costs us to run it versus revenue associated with it. Any further, Mr. Bruzzo? Yes.
The swimming pool, you mentioned the swimming pool, I don't know if it fits in the expenditures. Do you know if we're even with that? We used to be, what it cost us, we made, so it was an even break for us every year.
Yes,
But we won't really know that, or,
I mean, the last 2 years have been a little bit different since we haven't really been running the full program, but
that's what I mean with, as far as you know, that we're still even.
yes.
Any further questions from the community concerning the budget presentation? Thank you, Ms. Villarreal, or Sienna, sorry. Ooh, apologies to your new husband. Thank you. We just put back up put that back up for a second, just the schedule for the budget hearings. Just to remind everyone, March 29th will be another budget workshop. April 12th will be the budget adoption by the board. May 3rd will be the public hearing for the budget, and the budget vote will be May 17th, 2022. And we have new hours for voting that day. They are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We no longer go to 10 p.m. We'll remind everyone again before that day. Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is 5C, adoption of minutes from the budget/community meeting of March 1st, 2022. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Screedo. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Salvia. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay. You're abstaining, yes?
Right, yes.
Yep. 601, Ms. Capisi, rightfully abstaining. Number 6 on the agenda is questions and comments from the community concerning tonight's agenda only. Does anyone have questions concerning the agenda only tonight? Number 7 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do any members have items that they'd like to have removed from the consent agenda? With that, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Fortmeyer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 7-0. I'm missing. Number 8 on the agenda, policies, there are none. Number 9 is the approval of a legal notice. I'll just read it really quickly. Resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Hauppauge Union Free School District hereby adopts the legal notice for the annual meeting and budget vote to be held on May 17, 2022. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Screedo, second. Ms. Salvia, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Committee reports, the audit committee, Ms. Capisi.
There's nothing to report. We haven't had a meeting yet, but we'll have one.
Okay, and we had a meeting today concerning the state's audit. I just asked that you speak with Dr. Murphy and or Ms. Sienna concerning the results or the interim results of the state's findings. They were good, I think.
Yes.
Yes, they were good. All right. B, the board policy committee Mr. Tasman, when's our next meeting?
March 29th, meeting scheduled for March 29th.
3/29, that'll be before our next meeting. C is the Islip Town Board School, Islip Town School Board Association Representatives Committee. Mr. Fortmeyer?
Yes, this meeting is not scheduled on a regular basis. I don't have a date for next meeting. I did ask the district clerk to check.
Okay. District Steering Committee? Dr. Murphy? I stumped you last time. Let's see if we can go again.
Yeah, well, we met to approve the steering committee charter update. That was approved at the last board meeting. I'm not certain when the next meeting is, but I'll confirm.
Okay, so before the next meeting, if you could just let us know that date, that would be great. The HIV/AIDS Committee, Dr. Crafa?
Typically meet every spring. We do not have the date scheduled yet. I'll reach out.
Code of Conduct Committee, Mr. Scarito?
Mr. Tasman, when do we have our next one?
May 25th.
Yeah.
May 25th?
Yep.
Safety Committee, Mr. Fortmeyer?
Next meeting is March 21st.
Thank you. Facilities Committee, Dr. Crafa?
Next meeting is going to be on March 29th, prior to the board meeting. We anticipate maybe doing some walkthroughs beginning at 4 p.m.
Walkthroughs of the buildings?
Middle school, high school.
Middle school, high school? Letter I is the Curriculum and Instruction and Technology Committee, Ms. Salvia?
The Curriculum Committee Executive Board met with the full Curriculum Committee, consisting of over 70 parents, teachers, administrators, and community members on November 4th, 2021, and on January 6th, 2022. At these meetings, we discussed the framework of the Curriculum Committee, explained the format of meetings, outlined the next steps, and discussed new course offering proposals and shared future meeting dates. We'll be meeting throughout the year to discuss the work of in-service to our students. And the next meeting is still planning to be scheduled like
The 24th.
the 24th of March.
Congratulations to Ms. Salvia for the most comprehensive committee report of the day. That concludes number 10, rather. Number 11, discussion matters are on. Number 12, new business. The board members have new business. Mr. Scarito.
Just want to once again thank, being a parent of dropping off a student every day, the security, the monitors, the crossing guards. I think we should be thanking them every time. We had a couple of cold, rainy days again, and one of the gentlemen of parents said that the people come out and meet the buses. I was a witness to that. They do an amazing job to come out and help the students off the bus. So I think, hats should be off to those people doing a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Scarito. Any other new business? Does administration have any new business?
No.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever? Mr. Bruzo?
Yeah, is it a possibility to get the cost, when we were doing the vote for this building, we were gonna move everybody out of this building and sell the building? Can we get that cost again? How much?
Sure, so that you want-
Whatever, make space in the high school or wherever you decided the plan.
Yep. So, Bridget, when your presentation comes concerning this building, I think you said at the next meeting or whatever, if you can add to that just a recap of the costs of moving administration, had we sold the building or if we still choose to move administration off. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Any further, so Mr. Bruzo, that'll be part of the presentation on this building at the next meeting.
So we're clear, so I get the cost, I need a cost also if we empty this building if possible. Like if no one sat in this building, how much would it cost to run this building?
So if the building was empty?
Yes, please.
Sure, I think that's reasonable. And if it's not reasonable, we'll let you know. But it seems reasonable. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever? Mr. Buscarino?
Good.
Good, very good. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn our next Meeting is, as I said, March 29th, which is also the budget workshop. I'll make a motion for an adjournment. Dr. Kraft seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. There will be no executive session tonight. Good night. God bless America.
I'll take it.